McCarthy Insurance Group, serving the community for over 70 years. For home, farm, motor, life, health and business insurance, log on to mig.ie or free phone 1800 50 11 11. Probably your best call in 2024. Charles McCarthy Insurance is trading as McCarthy Insurance Group, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Now, real people, real opinions. Nighttime Talk with Niall Boylan.
Ireland's classic hits radio.
I had my doubts about that previous topic when we talked about it earlier on to myself and AJ. I said, that's like a topic I would have done, 25 years ago and got a huge reaction to, because people would have been horrified at the very thought of a woman breastfeeding a child in public. But I said, this is 2024. Nobody's going to say that they'll be horrified. But I'm surprised, not just by Steve and Angela, by the way, by the amount of people, primarily women, surprisingly enough, primarily women who are texting in and agreeing with Helen, saying it's not ladylike to expose your breast in public. I'm actually surprised. I think it's women are women's worst enemies when it comes to these things. I think men are probably just too afraid to say anything about it, really. They just don't want to get involved. Anyway, I got a text from a listener, and it is that time of the year. And they said, can you talk about this in the air? Short and sweet. The kids in our estate started collecting wood and other bits for the Halloween bonfire over the weekend. I gave them some bits and they had started making a pile on the green. Now this afternoon the council have come along and taken it all away. Now mind you, it's a bit early, isn't it, to be making a pile on the green. Normally we keep it, I remember when we were kids, we used to keep it in the back garden until that time came. Anyway, they said, I just think the council are being killjoys. Kids are just having a bit of fun. Now, this topic kind of arises once a year, when we talk about the fact, fireworks are illegal in Ireland, firstly, in relation to, we'll come to bonfires in a second, but fireworks are illegal. I think there's a €10,000 fine for fireworks if you don't have a permit for fireworks in this country. Bonfires are technically illegal as well, by the way, but the guards tend to turn a blind eye to it as long as it's usually organised, but they don't always turn a blind eye. So, and the council will go round if you start setting up your bonfire, 3 weeks beforehand or 2 weeks beforehand and remove the wood. They've been doing it on a regular basis and more so over the last few years. Now, people say they're killjoys and the government are killjoys for not making fireworks legal. Remember, of course, fireworks are very dangerous, extremely dangerous. There's two arguments when it comes to fireworks. And I understand the argument for legalising them. And the argument for legalising them is, if we legalise them, you can regulate them and make sure they're properly approved. Because currently the fireworks that come into Ireland, generally speaking, are coming in from places like China, and they're dangerous. They go off in your hand, they go off, when they're not supposed to, they go in the wrong direction, they explode before they even lift off the ground, because they're not made properly. They're cheap fireworks, and people are importing them, they're buying them online and all sorts of things. So I agree with the argument that maybe legalising them would avoid some of the damage that might be done by dodgy fireworks that have been sold in Henry Street out of somebody's pocket. So there is an argument there for that. But in relation to bonfires, have we gone past the stage of people lighting fires in the middle of greens? Now, I have seen some of the bigger bonfires up in Northern Ireland on, the July fortnight, and some of those are outrageous. In the middle of housing estates, 80 metres high. Just ridiculous. If they fall down in the wrong direction, it'll burn people's houses down. But here's the question I wanted to ask you. Do you think we should take the law more seriously when it comes to fireworks and bonfires? Because it comes under the Firearms Act. Should we take the law more seriously? Or should we be lenient and be less serious about it and say, well, look, it's just one night of the year. They're just having a bit of fun. What's the big deal? Let me know what you think. The number is 087 188 0008. John, how are you doing?
Evening, Niall. How are you keeping?
Good. John, should we take it more seriously or should we take it less seriously and just say, sure, it's just a bit of fun?
Well, we should take it less seriously, but we should try to control it in, how can I put this? Well, resident associations, we should be able to let a few bonfires around the place. We should organise it better, Kids, no matter what happens, there's going to be fires. If we have some kind of control, or if maybe resident associations or parents or organise specific places where there could be a small bonfire, just a token bonfire, not to let it go out of control, that, I don't know, men's sheds or residents, I think we're taking it too seriously that we're sending fire brigades round. When we were young in the 60s and 70s, no one bothered us. We just burned the whole town down, I remember one night driving down in Galway here, and the mother dragging her mattress across. She had a can of Budweiser in one hand and a mattress in the other, and she was dragging it to the bonfire. But that's ridiculous. But maybe we should think of the councils, city councils, and county councils should maybe think about maybe having an event. You know what I mean? That same with fireworks. I don't believe. Fireworks are very, very dangerous.
Well, they are dangerous in the wrong hands, and they're also dangerous if they're cheap fireworks that are being imported from China. Yeah.
Cheap fireworks coming from the north. I had a friend.
Well, from China mostly. Some of them come in from the north. Yeah.
But I had a friend here several years ago, and his family, big family, they went to the north. He was a kind of a trader, like Del Boy. And his main thing was Christmas trees or carpets or fireworks. But he told me that he made a profit of €20,000.
Oh, you could easily. I mean, you can drive 52 miles from Swords up the road to Newry and buy boxes of fireworks and come back down and sell them for twice the price in Dublin. Of course you could. And people do it, by the way, all the time, because they open up these shops up in Newry where they sell them wholesale. And the guards generally don't check the back of people's cars coming down from the north, because that would be a dodgy situation for the guards to be getting into. So you believe, as long as it's controlled, we should, let people away with it. But stay there for a second. I want to go to Martin as well. Martin, hi, how are you?
I'm well, Niall. Good evening. A little bit depressed having listened to the diatribe of nonsense in the last topic.
Yeah, well, I'm a little bit depressed myself listening to that, to be honest with you.
We'll leave it there.
Yeah, let's draw. Pardon the pun, but let's draw a discreet veil over it. Yeah. Okay, Martin, the idea of bonfires comes from Samhain, which was bonfires were lit by Celtic priests, and it was a form of protection for the souls to pass from one world to the other, right? I think that's the general gist of it, right? And that's where the tradition came from. I remember when we were kids, and lots of drunk teenagers would hang around the bonfire. But realistically, have we passed that point? Is it time for them to go? Have they got a bit out of control, or am I just being an old fuddy-duddy here and a killjoy?
Well, I think the time for unregulated bonfires has passed. My view of it is one way or another. Look, if just a bunch of kids are allowed to build a bonfire and someone gets injured, they're injured. Possibly with life-changing injuries. I think it's better to have community involvement, adults involved. The fire services involved, go to the fire services. And there should be legislation to allow this. Where can we build a bonfire? We can go onto private land. We can build a bonfire. Tell us what we need. What do we need to have on standby? Just get some general information on it and allow it that way. If you're going to have, doesn't really mean anything to me, Halloween. But if you're going to have some kind of a celebration, do it that way. But on the thing of fireworks, Niall, when I was a kid, going back to the 60s, and at that time, the most kind of frequently used firework at that time.
Starlights.
I would say they were bangers, we used to call bangers. Do you remember those? Now, when I was a kid in the 60s, if I got bangers, they were about as thick as a pencil and probably about 4 inches long.
Yeah, I remember.
And when they went off, there was a bit of a bang out of them. Now, when you hear them going off, it's literally like an explosion. There's so much black powder packed into them that if it detonates in a child's hand or in an adult's hand, you'll probably lose a few fingers. I think there should be. It's like so many things in this country. Produce legislation, make a law, and then forget about it. We have the law. Don't bother enforcing it.
The problem is, Martin, when you make something illegal, they go on the black market. When they go on the black market, there's no regulation. They can sell anything they want. And a lot of this stuff is coming from China. It's unregulated. And a lot of it is faulty. They go off too quickly. They go off on the ground instead of shooting into the air. There's loads of problems with them.
Yeah, now I haven't looked, I haven't gone on the internet, I haven't checked, I haven't done anything like that before this conversation. But I wonder, when was the last time anyone was prosecuted for selling fireworks?
I think there is prosecutions yearly in relation to the sale of fireworks. I think they do prosecute. They don't prosecute people, generally speaking, for using them, because, as we know, it's it's like Guy Fawkes here on Halloween night, because you see fireworks going off regularly all over the place in the housing estates and everything else. But they don't prosecute people for using them, but they do prosecute people for importing them illegally every now and again.
Yeah, every now and again. So it's.
But you can drive, as I said, you can get in your car, drive 52 miles up the road to Newry there, and you can buy as many as you want.
Exactly, and you can purchase them. But that's my point. Like, if you walk down Henry Street, coming up to Halloween. Now, I'm nearly 65 years old. No one's going to offer me fireworks. You can see them being openly sold.
Oh yeah.
Now, if that's the case, the prosecutions that are being taken, they're just to make a statement. They're not really, there's no crackdown on it. There is no real effort. It's like the conversation you had earlier on about transport and safety and Dublin City, Cork City, all the rest of them. I mean, that monstrosity in Dublin, the boardwalk, if you want to make Dublin a better city, get rid of that bloody awful monstrosity. It's just a congregation point for scumbags.
Couldn't agree with you more.
Right? It should be done
unless you're going to police it. Yeah, unless you're going to police them.
Well, yes, fair enough. If you're going to police it, and it wouldn't be that difficult to police. I mean, it's not like someone, unless they're going to jump into the liffey and swim off. You can close.
No, you're right. You're right. I wouldn't recommend any tourists walk down if any tourists are listening and just arrived in Ireland, don't go to the boardwalk. It's just full of low lives and drug addicts. Yeah.
Yeah. So, as I say, it's like so many things in this country that I just go, why? The solutions really, okay, I'm not saying they're simple, but they're obvious. They really are obvious. If you're going to have a law, have the brains, the intelligence, the integrity, and go to the effort of enforcing those laws. Don't make a mockery of them. And that's what we have all over the country. Everything is made a mockery of in this country. Mm-hmm. And we could have such a wonderful country, but everything is just the politicians, the councils, the whole lot of them. Really, in my opinion, they just sit back, and I include the courts in this. I've seen so many things happen in the courts. I'm not going to get into individual cases, but in my opinion, so many of the things I've seen are just absolutely outrageous. People who shouldn't be prosecuted being prosecuted to the nth degree, and people who should be prosecuted, being given the benefit of, oh, well, you've had a hard time, walk out with 20 previous convictions. This is what's wrong in this country, But on the actual issue of Halloween, I think, it should be more stringently policed.
Okay, we'll stay there for a second. Let me go to Alva. Alva, hi, how are you?
Hi, good now.
Alva, you know yourself, Halloween, it's like a war zone around Ireland. It's just like a free-for-all when it comes to fireworks and bonfires. Should we take the laws more seriously, or is it just a bit of fun?
Well, it is a bit of fun, isn't it? I mean, we love a bonfire. I have no problem with bonfires. Sure, we celebrate around bonfires when there's a football game after being won in the village or whatever.
Jeez.
And there's no... Yeah, like
you light a bonfire because the football game is one. I've never heard that one, but go on. Yeah,
if the local team have won a game, many of the roads or the little kind of communities will have their own little bonfires, and there's no harm in that. And it's all very safe and it's controlled and everything. But with fireworks, they just seem to be so random. Where I am, anyways, they seem to be happening randomly throughout the days leading up to Halloween at all times of the day and night.
Oh, they've started already. You can hear them banging every night. They've started already. Yeah.
I mean, it's not fair on the animals, young kids. It's just ridiculous.
You've been placed on hold.
Oh, sorry, Martin.
Please wait.
Martin just put us on hold there.
On hold.
Oh, that was Alva actually put us on hold. Alva, did you put us on hold? That's a first for live radio. Right. Yeah, and I do understand, Alva, that the fireworks is a separate issue. Now, it all comes under the same legislation, I suppose, which is the Firearms Act, to be honest with you. But the problem I find with the bonfires is some of them are organised by local communities, and that's fine, right? And there's adults there. But then you see some of them in certain housing estates, and it's like a free-for-all. You have the local scum are sitting around on some sofa they've borrowed from somebody, sitting drinking cans of beer. There's always somebody in charge. There's cats thrown into the fire. There's stray dogs thrown into it. There's fridges thrown into it. Anything they can get, they'll drive a car into it if they can steal a car. Anything they can get their hands on will go into the bonfire.
Yeah, well, those ones now I wouldn't be agreeing with those because that's just for trouble, isn't it? They're just.
Well, a lot of them are like, that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I mean, what can you do? You can't stop them.
No, you can't.
With the fireworks now, I just think they should. Are you saying that the laws should allow it?
Well, I'm kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. I understand the point that Martin is making in relation to fireworks. Look, one firework in a kid's hand going off could lose fingers, and we all know that. But if you regulate something and you have a law that prevents that happening, i.e., fireworks will always be dangerous no matter how well they're made. But I mean, if you actually have laws, well, then you don't have stuff coming in the black market. You've proper legitimate distributors that sell approved fireworks that are, when I say safe, that are actually built properly. They won't go off when they're not supposed to, etc., etc.
Well, I would have thought, now I don't know, but I would have thought that if you're to set off fireworks, you need to have some sort of knowledge in all of these safety things. And like the regular Joe Soap wouldn't have a clue how to use a firework, but he'd set one off anyways. So let's just say now, if it is kind of more regulated, well, around where I'm from, you won't see fireworks if that's the case, because you're going to have to find someone who has all the knowledge and the skill and probably the license or whatever to come and put on a firework display. And sure, that wouldn't really happen.
But you can buy them. Here's the thing. You can buy a fireworks display, so to speak, right? They make them now in such a way they come in a box, built into a box, and you light one thing, one taper, and they all go off then, in sequence or whatever it is, and you just put it in the middle of a field and it does its thing for 2 or 3 minutes. And you can buy them like that now. And I think if they were distributed properly and legitimately, people would do that. Because the thing about it is, Alva, if you want fireworks, you can get them anyway.
Yeah.
But you're getting them on the black market from Mary and Henry Street, who's bought them from some distributor who got them in from China, and God only knows what's in them.
Well, do you know what? They're not even good. Last year we heard a firework. We were watching the telly and we heard one firework. So we went outside and we were watching the sky to see will there be another one. I'd say 20 minutes went by. We heard another one, couldn't see it. But this is all you're getting from these cheap fireworks. Like, they're letting them off maybe at the beach or down the road or somewhere. And you don't know, you can't even see them. You don't know where they're coming from.
Where are you in Galway? Are you in the city or where are you out in the suburbs? Where are you?
I'm out I'm on the coast.
Oh, right, okay. Because I tell you, I don't know about Martin, you're in Dublin. And Halloween, it's the sky is lit up with them. Maybe that's...
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, they're all over the place, in the city centre, everywhere, Alva.
Yeah, and that gets back to my point now. When it comes to fireworks from China, I would advise everybody never to buy fireworks from China. I know gunpowder started in China, but, the way...
By the way things are going in China at the moment, it may end up in China too. Yeah.
But, I mean, there are fireworks you can get which have European safety standards on them. Mm-hmm. And... I think, okay, if you're going to liberalise it and allow certain fireworks, I mean, sparklers are allowed, and yet sparklers, children are routinely seriously burnt with sparklers.
I remember my dad buying packets of sparklers when I was a kid. Your dad gets you a few packets of sparklers.
Yeah, I mean, that grey material on a sparkler is called thermite, and it's extremely reactive.
Is that what it is? I just thought it was sulphur. Is that thermite?
No, that's thermite now.
God, I just thought it was. I thought it was just like a matchstick. It was just sulphur.
No, that's thermite. That's what they use for cutting through steel, for cutting rail tracks, and bonding rail tracks, and all. That's thermite. I'm tired now, so I can't remember the temperature thermite burns at, but that's thermite. Wow. Once you light it, the only way to put it out really is to dip it in water. That's why it's so hard. That's why it's so difficult to light those. But I mean, why are they legal And I see kids throwing them. You know, they have them in their hands. And okay, if a child knows how to hold them, fair enough. They're normally on a copper
stick,
on a copper stick.
Yeah.
But you know, like they throw them around the place. They can start fires. If they land on somebody's clothes, they could be seriously injured. Kids get their hands burnt by.
Yeah, to be fair, starlights have been around for whatever, I don't know, 70 years.
Yeah, but once they go out, they're still incredibly hot. They'll be, you know, you're talking about well over 150, 160 degrees for at least 20, 30 seconds.
Oh yeah, I've just got AJ's put on the screen here. 2,500 degrees.
Well, there you go.
Wow.
Now, it's not exactly the same thermite that would be used for industrial purposes, but it's a diluted form of thermite. It can't be put out.
I didn't know that.
Normally, unless you deprive it of oxygen, it can't be put out, and the best way to do that is just to put it in water. But like, why are they legal and other things aren't? Enforce the laws. Crack down. If people are bringing in rubbish fireworks from China, which are dangerous, prosecute them. But open it up. You know, I think if there was more community involvement, I'm not in favour of people walking around with fireworks, just generally. But if there was more community involvement, if people want to have a bonfire, notify the fire services. Ask them, where can we go? Especially if you can get onto private land somewhere where there's
there's nothing worse than seeing the local green having this big bald patch in the middle of it for years afterwards.
Absolutely. And I've seen on occasions where bonfires, they're built around trees on green spaces, trees that have been there for 30 years.
Yeah.
You know, I'd prosecute. I don't care, children or not. I would prosecute them for that. That's absolute.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Let me just go to Roisin, sorry, before I go to the break. Roisin, hi, how are you?
Well, how are you now?
Good. Roisin, fireworks and bonfires, would you ban them completely? Well, they kind of are banned completely, but they still let them do it.
I would. I would, because I detest Halloween because of this. I have 3 kids, and they're obviously all of age of going out and doing trick-or-treating. I live in a housing estate in a town that's not Dublin. We're outside Dublin. And I have to, for the safety of me and my 3 kids, to enjoy Halloween, I have to leave our county and travel to the next county to enjoy Halloween with my sister.
Why?
Because it's so rough with crowds and with bonfires, and then it gets dangerous at night time. It gets dangerous to the point where the local road into all our housing estates, the local artery, was closed off for 4 hours for the last 2 years. So when we came back from my sister's, I couldn't access my home for 4 hours because of the amount of tow rags bombarding guards and harassing guards with fireworks. There was 2 guards taken off in an ambulance here last year.
Jesus. Sounds like a war zone.
It is. Like, I'll openly admit it is. And I hate Halloween because of it. And like, our fireworks have been going off here since August. We were at a football match today, a local GAA football match, and Governors got into the county grounds and they threw a firework into the middle of the pitch when lads were playing football.
Wow.
That's the type of absolute shite that you have to deal with. And I don't think it should be in the arms of the guards anymore. The guards are so under-resourced. The fire services are so under-resourced, and they can't cope with the volume.
No, so I've seen the fire service. They arrive, let's say a bonfire is out of control in certain housing estates. I won't start naming them, right? But we all know where they are. Yeah. And the fire service arrive to put the fire out or to try and control the situation. And the little couriers start throwing bricks at the fire brigade.
Yeah, so there were 2 guards here, like I said, they were taken off in an ambulance, and a guarded car was set on fire.
Yeah, I'm sure, by the way, if there's fire personnel listening, they will tell you that they detest Halloween. Detest it. For that reason.
And I think it should get to a regulated source of people should be fined, parents should be fined. If your little Johnny is going out and has thrown a firework at a guard or a child trick-or-treating, get back to the parents and go, by the way, there's a €500 fine. Your little Johnny was out unsupervised with a firework and in harming other lives.
All right, well, listen, thank you very much in that. We'll come back to this another night when we have a bit more time. Roisin, Martin, Alva, thank you very much indeed. We've got to take a quick break, and I'll be joined after the break by Estelle Birdie, who is a feminist, by the way. Now, so you're thinking to yourself, why is Niall talking to a feminist? Niall would have nothing in common with a feminist. You'd be surprised. Well, I have a lot in common with feminism. I agree with feminism to some degree. But her new novel, and it's called Ravelling. And it's a very interesting novel. We'll be talking about that after the break. It's about men, by the way.
Now, real people, real opinions. Nighttime Talk with Niall Boylan.
Ireland's classic hits radio.